Chapter 1752. Bo-een smiled. I understand, madam. Lu Luo glanced at him when he said the word madam. Her fingers stopped. Before Lu Luo could speak, Bo-een interrupted her. Madam, do you want to abandon me after using me? Lu Luo knew what he was talking about. She retracted her hand and smiled. Is this how you use the word abandon? Bo-een hooked her slightly messy long hair. Am I not your little puppy? My master left me at home after waking up. If this isn't abandoning me after using me, what is it? The man spoke casually. Lu Luo paused for a moment. How much did you hear? They told you to be careful of me. Bo-een took her hand and stuffed it into his windbreaker. I've heard everything I need to hear. Lu Luo glanced at him. They don't have any ill intentions. I understand. Bo-yin's voice was calm. They care about you. They are not bad friends. Lu Luo smiled. She reached out and caressed his head. You are more mature than I thought. That's why you shouldn't watch videos of other people's male idols. Bo-een smiled faintly. They won't be as milky as me. Lu Luo didn't expect the topic to be like this. After this conversation, she realized that this little puppy had a possessive nature too. Where are you, milky? Lu Luo looked at him as he walked to the outermost position. Under the streetlights, his face looked even more elegant and handsome. Bo-een smiled. I listened to you. Since you left in the morning, I have been staying at home. I didn't go anywhere. Don't you need to work? Lu Luo looked at him. Bo-yin's voice was lazy. I'm going to bring you to see my daughter. You can do your work when you come back. Lu Luo paused for a moment. She stood in the darkness and looked at him. Do you really have a daughter? Yes. Bo-een, who was wearing his coat, reached out and hugged Lu Luo in his arms. In the past, she liked to fight with me for you. She wasn't as obedient as me. Lu Luo smelled the pleasant scent on the young man's body. Her thoughts seemed to be in a mess. What woke her up was the bats wandering around under the streetlights. It seemed like these bats had been following them since the beginning. Bo-een followed her gaze. Then, a trace of redness flashed across his eyes. The bats seemed to have received some kind of order and immediately disappeared into the night. Bo-een retracted his gaze and asked knowingly, what is it? Nothing. I must be thinking too much. Lu Luo glanced sideways at him. I'm hungry. What do you want to eat later? Bo-een didn't seem to mind. Either is fine. Lu Luo pressed the key and opened the car door. Pick one. You. He was already holding her hand. At this moment, he lowered his body and his breath hit her ear. His slender fingers even slid across the mark on her neck. I want to eat you. It wasn't that there wasn't any resistance. It was as if this person had the ability to make people lose their ability to think. This was probably what the emperor meant by lust. That night, Lu Luo experienced the benefits of being young. However, she had to pay the price. She had to wear a turtleneck sweater the next day. There was also a slight ache in his waist. He seemed to dislike sunlight. Lu Luo didn't open the curtains. It was just that she would always think about the daughter that he had mentioned. Hence, she paid more attention to Milan's recent competitions. Hence, during lunch break, Lu Luo couldn't help but click on the link that the fortune teller had sent her. Chapter 1753. The first thing that entered Lu Luo's eyes was the river and bushes in the game. She also saw the characters that she didn't understand. Lu Luo smiled faintly and shook her head. She wanted to close the video. However, at this moment, a shadow suddenly appeared on the screen. Like moving clouds and flowing water, it swept forward. Even though Lu Luo didn't watch games usually, she understood the situation. The blue team had a huge advantage. They had more people too. The red team didn't have a high chance of winning. Was he going to charge forward alone? Lu Luo raised her eyebrows. She didn't press the button anymore. She just took a sip of her coffee and watched quietly. At that moment, the shadow dashed into the crowd. He appeared and disappeared like a ghost. He first knocked down a person. Then, he turned around and dodged the opponent's attack. Then, he dashed forward again. Double kill. Triple kill. At the same time, the shadow appeared. He had arrived. But in the next second, he stood up again. He led the group of kids behind him and broke into the enemy's city. It was a beautiful victory. Lu Luo didn't stop smiling. However, she still wasn't interested in the game. But the screen shook for a moment. The camera suddenly focused on a face. It was the face of a youngster. There was a mole at the corner of his eyes. His lips were curved and he was smiling. Strangely, Lu Luo's gaze froze. A blurry image appeared in her mind. However, she didn't have any impression of what it was exactly. Lu Luo paused for a moment. She couldn't help but search for more information about the youngster. There were both negative and positive ones. Lu Luo was a businesswoman. When she saw such videos, she just glanced past them. Besides some videos in which the youngster appeared, she didn't click on the rest. However, she only wanted to take a look at the links. She couldn't stop at the end. When the assistant came in, she was obviously surprised. Boss Lu never watched these videos and posts on the internet. Today, it seemed like there was no end to it. Occasionally, Boss Lu would ask her a few questions about the game. The young assistant stood at the side and teased her. She felt like she was dreaming. After all, Boss Lu looked cold and didn't seem like a normal woman. This wasn't a derogatory term. It was because of Boss Lu's aura. She was decisive and efficient. When she wore a professional suit, she looked like a gust of wind when she walked. However, she didn't make people feel uncomfortable. Her smile was clear and faint. There was a kind of person that you would know the moment you saw her that she was not easy to approach, and you would not be resistant to her. Their Boss Lu was such a woman. The assistant couldn't imagine a day when she would sit in the conference room and not look at data reports, but something else. The assistant girl didn't dare to move at first, but after an hour, she came in again with something. She couldn't help but glance sideways. He couldn't help but let out an "ah." Lu Luo looked up at her. The assistant girl immediately apologized. Sorry, Manager Lu, it's fine. Lu Luo glanced at the hot American coffee she brought in. Just put the coffee down. The assistant did as she was told. She hesitated for a moment before asking, Boss Lu, do you like Spade Z too? Lu Luo smiled faintly and replied, yes. The assistant was even more excited, but she didn't dare to show it too obviously. After all, it was work time. She only whispered, I like it too. Chapter 1754. When the assistant girl heard this, she stretched her head over and let out another, before saying, this is the sticker that was given to us when we watched the competition tickets. Where can I buy it? Lu Luo was very direct. The assistant explained that the stickers weren't for sale. It was a gift from the team at that time. The ones that were profiting from it were all fake. Boss Lu, you can check the official website to see if there are any pillows for a lucky draw. The assistant girl's suggestion was quite reliable. Lu Luo didn't think that she would get it. Do it with the attitude of just trying it out. He didn't expect that he would really get a pillow. The assistant girl was so envious that she wanted to cry. Lu Luo was in a good mood too. It was just that the pillow was a little too big, and it didn't quite suit her temperament. When she half-hugged it, it was inevitable that it would be more conspicuous. Therefore, it naturally attracted a lot of discussion. Is Boss Lu really in love? Definitely. Otherwise, why would he hug a pillow? Didn't they say that Boss Lu's boyfriend is younger than her? He does look like someone who would give her a pillow. I think he's downstairs. Who? Boss Lu's little puppy is so handsome. The person who said this was still in a trance. He's outside the building now. Lu Luo was a little surprised when she saw the man. After all, he never came to her place of work. Even if he really came, according to their previous relationship, he would tell her. However, Lu Luo didn't have time to think about this. That person walked over with a pure black umbrella in his hand. When the first snow fell, it looked like a scene from a manga. It was just that there were very few people holding umbrellas at this time. This made the figure even more slender and tall. It's snowing. I'm here to take you home. Listening to such a sentence. How could Lu Luo say that he had broken the rules? She only looked at the thin windbreaker on his body and wrapped the scarf around his neck with one hand. She didn't care if she would be talked about by others. Even though there were her subordinates in the crowd. Bo Yin smirked. It was obvious that he liked this way of announcing things. Many people were watching. After all, no matter if it was Bo Yin or Lu Luo, they would be the scenery if they stood there. Moreover, there was also the element of gossip here. He's really handsome. I just hope that Boss Lu won't end up like Boss Ran. I'm just raising someone else's boyfriend. What's the use of being handsome? That's true. Which boy would like someone older than him? Maybe he has one in university and found a sugar daddy outside. Bo Yin stood there, the smile on his face deepening. He glanced down. He heard a series of shouts from the other side. They did not know that a group of vampire bats had suddenly appeared and were circling around them. It was really frightening. Lu Luo looked towards the source of the sound. However, she didn't manage to take a closer look. The man placed the black umbrella over her head. What are you holding in your hands? This? Lu Luo wasn't interested in looking at other people. However, the group of bats caught her attention. Recently, she had seen a lot of bats in the city center. Because she was thinking about something, when she replied to Bo Yin, she seemed a little distracted. It's the bolster of a young male idol. It's very cute. Little Prince Charming? Very likable. Bo Yin's black eyes turned to the side, and there was a faint light in the corner of his eyes. The corners of his mouth were still half curved, but it reminded people of the word darkness. Chapter 1755. 9. Bo Yin paused, his slender fingers poking the pillow. Lu Luo noticed that he was different from usual. What's wrong? No. Bo Yin curled his lips. I just think it's not bad. Lu Luo smiled. It's rare that you know how to praise others. This is worth praising. Bo Yin didn't stop smiling, but his voice was much lower. After all, you know how to fight for favor from a young age. Lu Luo didn't understand. Huh? Did you fall in love with this little male idol because she and you both have tear birthmarks? Bao lowered his voice. If you look closely, she looks a little like me. How could this be explained? But now it seemed that, it did look like 3 points. Lu Luo's gaze landed on the pillow. Bo Yin tilted the black umbrella in his hand and kissed her in that position. Even with the umbrella's cover, the office workers who passed by could not help but gasp. That scene was too beautiful. Lu Luo paused. She heard him laughing softly beside her ear. Anyway, after you have me, don't think about anyone else. I will get jealous. This was probably what it was like to fall in love with someone younger than oneself. The other party would tell him everything. He would also hide something. It was just like what his friends had said. He had already met her friend. But he had never thought of bringing her to meet his friends. Young girls might not have thought of this. If he really wants a long-term relationship, he will definitely involve you in his life. Lu Luo understood, but at the same time, she also understood another logic. They weren't going to last long anyway. So even if she was kissed. Lu Luo smiled faintly. Then, she raised her hand and rubbed his head. She looked like a businesswoman. Bo-een raised his eyebrows and raised his hand. Let me help you with the bolster. You have an umbrella in your hand. Luo really liked this bolster. My assistant said that there are other things, but there aren't any places to buy them. You can only get them when you watch the competition. When we go to Milan and meet our daughter, let's bring her to take a look. Bo-een looked over casually. I don't think we need to bring them. Luo felt a little disappointed when she heard this. She really wanted a child. But this answer was obviously saying that he wanted to say something. The child he spoke of might not necessarily exist. Even if he didn't completely believe it. There was still an indescribable feeling. After the two of them got into the car, the calls never stopped. All of them were asking her about her love life. Luo turned her face and helped him wrap the scarf around his neck. Don't come to the company anymore. When Bo-een heard this, he smiled slowly. His eyes were filled with hostility, but he suppressed it all and said, okay. Under the streetlights, there were also faint bats flying past. That night, Luo's entire body was sore. That person still looked devilish and evil, but when she asked him to stop, he had no intention of stopping. Even his teeth seemed to have penetrated into the blood vessels in her neck. As the numbness spread, all his thoughts were floating. Enough. He pressed her against the head of the bed. His voice was like the night outside, low and heavy, with the scent of roses in his breath. Not enough. I'm hungry. Luo's breathing was a little unstable. Her long black hair fluttered in the wind. She looked beautiful and gentle. The man kissed her ear and smiled. Eat me. Chapter 1756. 2 in the morning. Thick fog rose outside the window. Outside the villa, under the streetlights, the bats didn't leave. Luo was in a deep sleep on the bed. She was so deep that she didn't realize that the person hugging her had disappeared. The scent of roses was very strong. It seemed to be mixed with the smell of rust. One of them transformed into a child. He knelt on one knee in front of Bo-een. Young lord, the competition will start on the 10th. There will be a fan meeting in Milan on the 8th. Madam has been added to the list. Bo-een long grunted lazily and spat out the blood bag in his mouth. The child stood up and raised his head. Why didn't you let me transform into young lord's appearance when she was young? That way, you won't need to explain. Even if the queen's memory is gone, you can create a memory for her. After all, no human can accept that they aren't a human anymore. That's what the queen said. Bo-een's pale and long fingers held the black umbrella. Different from the day, there was no warmth in his eyes now. That was natural. He smiled evilly. Only Gio can't. She's our child. What about her memory? The child puffed up his cheeks. He still didn't understand. Bo-een threw the blood bag into the bin. She can't do that. Why? The child didn't mind killing people. To them, humans were just food. Let alone the memory of a human. Bo-een's figure was tall and slender. His black trench coat fluttered in the wind. Because I'm in her memory. The memory I created is fake. The child understood a little, but he couldn't understand why the king loved a human so much. In the past, he said that it was because of her body temperature. But to revive a human. To awaken himself. It wasn't just because of her body temperature. Bo-een didn't need to explain his feelings to anyone. Bloodling. It had always been like this. Plus, he wasn't just anyone. He was Bo-een. If it wasn't for his master Gio's talisman, maybe he would be the only one left in this world. Now, she just lost her memory. She was still under the streetlight a second ago. She could appear beside the bed in the next second. This was one of the bloodling's abilities, teleportation. Such a person was willing to cover up everything for one person. Bo-een didn't know what human love was like. long after she picked him up. He didn't want to let go of this person again. Bo-in quietly lay back on the bed and hugged her from behind. He thought she was still talking. However, he heard someone say, "It's so late. Aren't you cold if you go out?" Bo-yin's fingers paused. Then, he brushed aside her long hair and smiled. "It's very cold. When did you notice that I was missing?" "Just now." Lu Luo looked over. Bo-in hugged her and lowered his voice. "I was afraid you would be hungry, so I cooked some noodles for you." He thought it was just an excuse. When Lu Luo was carried to the dining table with the blanket, there was indeed a bowl of noodles. "Braised? You don't like it?" Bo-in let her sit in his arms. "No." Lu Luo wasn't used to such intimacy. "Why don't you sit opposite me? It's too cold on the other side." Bo-in passed her a pair of chopsticks. "Try some?" Lu Luo smiled faintly. "I thought you only know how to cook noodles." "Yes." Bo-in put his chin on her shoulder and said casually, "If you want to eat something else, I can learn." Chapter 1757. Huh? Bo-in raised his eyebrows. He didn't say anything. But Mr. Bo, a vampire, showed an expression that said he was hungry too. His acting skills were really good. Lu Luo looked at him and raised the noodles with her chopsticks. Bo-in smiled and lowered his head to eat. A bowl of noodles was eaten by two people. Even the fluttering snow in the night seemed a little more beautiful. Her friend's message was still in Lu Luo's phone. She was also talking about the fact that this person would never introduce his friends to her. Lu Luo glanced over. She only saw the scenery outside the window. She wanted to find a time to talk to him. But she was always busy with work. She rarely had time to think at night. The culprit was the person beside her. He liked it very much, watching over her while she cooked. Lu Luo didn't know if other people would behave like this when they found a lover younger than them. This one of hers was very clingy and overbearing. She discovered the latter because someone sent her a message on WeChat. That person wasn't someone else. He was Lu Luo's so-called ex-boyfriend. However, it was this piece of information that made Bo Yin's eyes darken. The other party sent a message regarding work. Lu Luo always separated the two of them. She went out to meet him. When she met him, there were other people around. When she went out, that person was still fine. Lu Luo didn't expect him to meet him right after the meal. That person was there. It was probably because it was Halloween. Even the decorations on the streets had a faint atmosphere. There were jack-o'-lanterns everywhere. Some people were wearing a pair of ears and some were wearing masks. Only a young man was holding a black umbrella in the snow. His trench coat looked cool. He would always stand out from the crowd. Lu Luo saw him and looked over. The person standing beside Lu Luo frowned and said, "Let's go and find Boss Lee to talk about venture capital." Before Lu Luo could say anything, the person standing there looked up and looked at her. Lu Luo turned her body. "It's okay. I'll bring my secretary over another day." As soon as she finished speaking, she strolled in Bo Yin's direction. This time, he didn't wait for her. When he saw her coming, he turned and left. Lu Luo followed behind him. She could tell that he was throwing a tantrum. She was wearing a white professional suit with a jacket. She was definitely wearing high heels. Lu Luo's beauty had this kind of commercial vibe. She was completely different from the passers-by. She followed him for a while and said in a low voice, "Are you going to keep walking like this?" "I can't keep up." Bo-in glanced back. Because of his skin color, people would always think of the word devil. He stood there, looking at her as if he was stating a fact. "I waited for you for a long time, but you didn't come back." Lu Luo paused for a moment. She walked over and held his hand. It was cold. "I sent you a message." I said that I have a social gathering and I want to eat outside. What's there to eat with that group of people? Today is Halloween, and you're not even spending it with me. Those words were a little rebellious. I haven't even eaten anything. I've been waiting for you since I opened my eyes. Lu Luo paused. What do you want to eat? I'm not hungry. He was acting out of spite. Lu Luo looked at the person's side profile. He was still walking forward, but this time his steps were smaller. It was as if he was cooperating with her. Lu Luo's heart softened. She coaxed, "Don't be angry. I'll compensate you." Chapter 1758. Compensation? Lu Luo thought for a moment and said, "Which car do you like in the garage?" She had asked other people before. Since they were in such a relationship, if she didn't give him anything, people would think that she wasn't a generous sugar daddy. This time, she didn't expect him to feel so wronged. He could have entered the garage directly. However, she told him not to appear in her workplace. That was why he kept waiting outside. She couldn't be compared to the youngsters. She didn't pay much attention to foreign festivals. Halloween was a business opportunity. Some activities were suitable for this occasion. It was probably because of the generation gap that he was like this. After Lu Luo finished speaking, Bo Yin suddenly smiled. "Which car do you like?" "Yes, pick one. You can drive it when you go out." Lu Luo looked at him. Bo Yin reached out his hand and hooked her long hair behind her ear. There was a devilish smile on his face. There was no warmth in his eyes. Instead, there was a faint redness in them. It was rare for him to have such emotions. After all, he had lived for a long time. He had lived for so long that he didn't care about anything. Except when she disappeared. This time, he was really angry. When he lowered his body, the smile on his face deepened. "Okay, I will choose a bigger car later." Hence, half an hour later, Bo Yin pressed Lu Luo against the car. Lu Luo's entire body was pressed against the car. She didn't have any space to push him away. What's more, his aura was so soft that it made one's spine go numb. When his cold hand reached in, Lu Luo froze. The only thing she could feel was his kiss on her neck. "Don't do it here." Lu Luo's breathing was in a mess. Her dress was messy, making her neck look even more white and translucent. Her beautiful swan neck was enough to make people want to commit a crime. She pressed down on his hand, but she didn't use much strength. This was because he carried her up and let her sit on his body. She was very close to him. The space in the car wasn't small. It was convenient for him to do whatever he wanted. She could hear his slightly hoarse voice. "Didn't you tell me to pick a car?" "Huh?" Lu Luo's breathing became even more messy. Her face turned red. She didn't say anything because the moment she opened her mouth, her voice would stutter. The heat and strength from the man made her mind go blank. In a private garage, no one would come in. Even if the seat was shaking, no one would see it. However, even so, in this kind of place, they could still hear some noises. Lu Luo had no choice but to rely on the person behind her. When the numbness washed over her entire body, Lu Luo realized that he was a little angry, especially when he said that sentence. "Give me this car in the future." The man's voice rang beside her ear, low and husky. "I like to have you in the car." Lu Luo's long hair was scattered beside his hand. Their clothes were in a mess. He planted a kiss behind her ear, and without giving her a chance to say no, he started the second round. She was so domineering that there wasn't a trace of childishness in her. Lu Luo didn't know when she woke up. When she opened her eyes, she remembered that she was in the car. Chapter 1759. She didn't know if it was because the voice was very close to her ear. It was deep and husky. It was very magnetic. Lu Luo didn't know if all young people were like this. Every word seemed to melt into her heart. It was so direct that she couldn't reject him. The temperature in the car couldn't cool down. It was a lingering feeling. When he carried her horizontally and placed her on the bed, he leaned down and kissed her softly. Everything felt like a dream that she didn't want to wake up from. This time, Lu Luo finally understood. He didn't like her mentioning the value of the gift to him. Lu Luo couldn't understand. The next day, she asked her friend. She only got one reply. There are two possibilities. 1, he is too scheming. What's a car? From an economic point of view, he will only get more if he stays with you for a long time. If that's the case, this kind of boy is considered smart and can keep his composure. Or, he likes you too much. He is talking about feelings with you, but you are talking about money with him. You are really, wait a minute, he isn't even willing to talk about money with you? Lu Luo replied with a mmh, and didn't say anything else. She decided to communicate with him directly. She sent him a message. Are you unhappy that I gave you a car? The other party replied very quickly. Before I realize its use, I am a little unhappy. Boss Lu, you can't keep me as a pet. I'm your boyfriend. Lu Luo thought for a moment and typed. Is there anything else? Anything else? Bo Yin lay on the bed. He reached out with one hand and grabbed the faint sunlight. He frowned. Without her around, he disliked the sunlight even more. Lu Luo took a pen and signed a document. Then, she replied, you don't like other things. Many. Bo Yin sent a voice message. He purposely lowered his voice as though he was abandoned by his owner. You ate with other men and made me wait at home. I didn't have the mood to sleep. Lu Luo paused. It's a business event. I can't avoid it. As expected, this was the answer. Bo Yin continued. His voice was casual. You watched other people play games for an hour. Lu Luo was in the wrong. After she knew about the silver-haired youngster, she kept searching for his competition videos. In the past, she didn't think much of the game. However, ever since she found out about Spade Z, every time she saw the youngster fighting 1 against 3 in the game, Lu Luo felt like laughing. She was so handsome when she played, but she also had the cuteness of a little tiger. She wasn't sure if it was just her imagination. She's still sending gifts in that person's live stream room. Bo Yin's voice became even more casual. I don't think she's live streaming. Lu Luo laughed softly. You really like to get jealous. Jealous? Hers? I don't think so. Bo Yin glanced sideways at the pillow in the living room. His gaze was indifferent. If you want a pillow in the future, I can take a photo and make it into a pillow for you to hug. Lu Luo listened to him but didn't say anything. Forget it, you should go take a picture and make it into a pillow for me to hug. Bo Yin frowned as the light intensified. He shifted and said in a low voice, it's boring to sleep when you're not here. Lu Luo's fingers stopped moving. She coaxed softly, I'll go back earlier today. Chapter 1760. Tomorrow? Lu Luo looked at her work for the next 2 days. She marked one of the meetings with a pen and said, isn't there 4 to 5 days before the world competition? Bo Yin stood up and pulled the curtains. There's an internal meeting. Lu Luo raised her eyebrows. She didn't ask how he knew. It seemed like she wasn't good at chasing after her idol. However, the team didn't announce their members' information. This meant that they didn't want anyone to know about their schedule. Her secretary had told her about it too. Esports players were usually under the most pressure before a competition. This time, it was probably because it was the world competition. After all, they had to give out some information after they landed. Internal meeting? Lu Luo looked at many places but didn't mention it. Maybe someone bought some fake information from a scalper. There was nothing wrong with going to Milan a day earlier. She wanted to see that youngster in person. She wanted to see how he looked like. This was something Lu Luo had never felt before. October 28th. This was the day that the Chinese esports fans were looking forward to the most. The official news was that all the players had arrived in Milan. They even threw out a map of the airport. It was a pity that they didn't inform them in advance. This way, they could see the real person. I envy the international students every day. I only saw the back of my big spade. I didn't even see his face. The rascals must be jet-lagged. That's why they didn't arrange for anyone to fetch them. It's an esports competition. There's no need to fetch them. Everyone, be rational. After all, the environment was different. Other people were fine. The moment Zhao Sanpeng arrived, he laid down in the hotel softly. He told everyone to call him when there was food. If there was no food, he wasn't interested in sightseeing or relaxing. There's an event. It's an internal meeting. Bo Jiao patted his shoulder. Are you sure you don't want to show off your handsomeness? Zhao Sanpeng waved his hand. This time, I really can't take it anymore. Give scheming Qin a chance. Qin Mo stood there, his side profile elegant. He didn't seem to have listened to him. Before he left, he reminded, Almighty Fatty's stomach is only suitable for porridge. You don't have to inform him about the gathering. Also, keep an eye on him and don't let him eat anything he wants, that's for sure. The private doctor pushed up his glasses. Zhao Sanpeng. F***ck, he still wanted to open the instant noodles in his suitcase to satisfy his craving. This scheming Qin was basically cutting off his escape route. 5 in the afternoon. The dusk in Milan was beautiful. White pigeons could be seen flying under the European-style building and beside the hotel fountain. His laziness was on full display here. Because the World Series was approaching. Preparations had already begun in the square. Fans came one after another. Take a photo in advance as a souvenir. What's more, it just so happened that after all the teams finished their interviews, there would be an internal meet and greet. China was no exception. However, they didn't inform anyone, and they were overseas, so there wouldn't be many people coming here. Most of them ran to the CST area on the left. After all, in their eyes, the Huaxia team was not a threat. Since they were representing Asia this time, it was equivalent to giving CST a chance to win the championship. Judging from China's past achievements, they were no match for them at all. Chapter 1761. On the Chinese team's side, there was only a continuous stream of fans with logos stuck on their faces. But even so, it did not affect the excitement on their faces. Gradually, more and more people came. Some people even covered their mouths in front of them. The sound of Heroes' game rang out. As if warming up, the big screen began to roll the names of the teams that had made it to the finals. The construction of the stage had also reached the final stage. Everything in front of her was new to Lu Luo. After all, she rarely paid attention to celebrities. It was even rarer for him to walk with a group of youngsters like this. There was no sticker on her face either. Ever since there were more people, she stood in the line. He was dressed in a professional suit, and his gaze was calm, but it didn't make people feel that he was distant. Quite a number of fans in the same industry were already looking in her direction. After all, most of the people here were international students, and they were quite young. Lu Luo was undoubtedly eye-catching. What was even more eye-catching than her was the man standing beside her with a black umbrella. He hooked his lips into a smile, as if to say something. Why open an umbrella at this time? After a while, he walked away, as if to go shopping. Only then did the two girls in the queue open their mouths. Sister, are you here to watch the competition with your boyfriend? That handsome guy probably liked it, and this big sister accompanied him. After all, judging from her temperament, it seemed like that guy liked to play games. Lu Luo smiled softly. He came with me. She doesn't look like any sports fan at all. The girls looked at each other in surprise. Lu Luo said honestly, I just started reading it recently. I'm here to see Z. Instantly, the two girls became even more excited. Family. Lu Luo raised her eyebrows. She was still the same businesswoman. Sister, we're Spade fans too. One of the girls smiled. I'm a girlfriend fan. The other girl coughed. If you're not afraid of Almighty Qin beating you to death, you can continue. I realize that my big Spade has more and more big sister fans. I'm so happy. Lu Luo smiled as she listened to the conversation between the two youngsters. As the procession moved forward. Because of his height, he looked from this angle. Lu Luo could already see the scene in front of her. 7 or 8 youths sat at the long table. They were all dressed in black and red combat uniforms. Some were drinking water, while others were smiling. One of them had a handsome face, and the curve of his face was overflowing from the corner of his eyes. He exuded a youthful aura, and his hair fell down to cover his ears. His hair was not silver gray, but black, which represented the East. Among so many people, the youngster's signature should be the slowest. Because he could still hear someone laughing on the other side. His hand speed is all used for playing games. Unlike Senior Lin Feng, who only uses it to hit planes. The young man leaned back and looked at the person beside him evilly. Sigh, there's always sorrow. Lin Feng. Would he be able to walk out of here alive after beating this person up? If you want to sign, just sign. Why are you saying such obscene things? Lin Feng was exasperated. Pay attention to your image. They might hear you. Bo Jiu shook her hands. I feel more tired than going to high school. I should invent a seal. If you continue talking, it will become a scene where you lose fans. Lin Feng reminded her. Bo Jiu smiled. It's more tiring to queue up. I understand, I'm just lazy. It's rare to see someone as lazy and righteous as you. Lin Feng cupped his fists. I'm impressed. This was a tease when signing autographs. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.